Hey everyone, welcome back to Here in Apologetics. I'm so pumped you're joining us today. Today is part 6 of my cumulative case for Christianity. Today I'll be talking about intuition. If you're new to this, I encourage you to start at the beginning of the playlist. I have 10 videos coming out making a cumulative case for Christianity, and this is the 6th video. Full playlist is down below, so you can start from the beginning, but let's talk about how intuition points to God. So, Proverbs 2:6 says, "For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding." Why would God need a book or a video series like this to defend his existence? In previous chapters, I've defended the importance of truth, established there's a necessary foundation, and provided different arguments suggesting that the necessary foundation is God through the nature of design, knowledge, and consciousness. Yet many people wonder, why would we even need arguments for God's existence if he did in fact exist? While the problem of divine hiddenness will be addressed in the next chapter, I would like to respond to the challenge that asks, why would God need people such as me to defend his existence? If God is all powerful, why does he need a middleman? My answer is that he doesn't. Scientific evidence supports the idea that people are intuitively wired to believe in God. Likewise, religious experience is a common phenomenon. Theism is an intuitive belief, and from this we find strong evidence in favor of theism. So, the argument from personal experience goes something like this. Most of my friends, even the ones who don't believe in a traditional monotheism, believe that there is some sort of higher power in the universe. If you talk to most people, they typically don't know the arguments for or against God's existence, but they have an intuitive grasp of the reality of a world beyond a mere materialistic system. So the argument goes like this. Religious experience and the intuitiveness of theism are more likely on theism than atheism. So, religious experience and the intuitiveness of theism are evidence for theism. Now, when we're talking about the existence of religious experience, I mean experiences that are perceived by persons to be of an objective reality, revealing some sort of religious truth. By the intuitiveness of theism, I mean that people have good reason to believe that God exists before conscious reasoning. Religious experience is a common phenomena that crosses cultures. To many people, including myself, there have been manifestations of the existence of God in our own personal lives. One such example of a personal experience with God came when I was at retreat during high school. During this retreat, two people who had been gifted with the power of prophecy came to the retreat to pray over students. When they prayed over me, it was as if everything that they had said was coming from God. To dozens of others who were prayed over during this time, they would also agree, most likely, that something supernatural happened there in which there was a religious experience with God. On this night, many of us believed that God had manifested himself to us through these two people. To consider the power of religious experience when thinking about the existence of God, it's also important to consider the large number of people who believe they have encountered the divine. According to Pew Research in 2015, by 2050, 86.8% of the world would adhere to some sort of religious tradition, with only 13.2% of the world remaining religiously unaffiliated. This is in 2050. It seems very likely as well that many of those people who adhere to religious tradition believe in God who is present and acting in the world. In the United States alone, nearly 80% of people believe in miracles. These statistics show that many people believe in a God or gods who interact with the world and can be experienced in some sort of capacity. Theism is not an isolated phenomena in a little corner of the world where only a small portion of people believe in a God, but rather the belief in the divine crosses cultures, languages, and traditions. So, why would this religious experience be more likely on theism than atheism? In addition to religious experience, there is good reason to think that theism is an intuitive belief for people across the world. Scientific research has shown that belief in God is intuitive. One study done by the University of Oxford in 2011 showed that humans have natural tendencies to believe in gods and an afterlife. The study also showed that people across many different cultures instinctively believe that that some part of their mind, soul, or spirit lives on after death. That's a quote. Another study showed that even among professional scientists, a religion consistent with default cognitive bias towards teleological explanation tenaciously persists. I leave open that the intuitiveness of theism could be the result of social pressure or cultural upbringing. In fact, throughout the entire series, I left open the possibility that there could be non-theistic explanations for why things such as contingency, design, and intuition could have explanations outside of the existence of God. What I am arguing is that these things are more likely to exist if God exists than if God does not exist. Our deep rooted intuition that God exists is more likely to exist if God exists than if God does not exist. Personal experience and scientific research show that the intuitiveness of theism is a well established part of the world. Why would religious experience be more likely on theism than atheism? If God saw value in creating conscious beings of moral value, God would likely want to interact with them to show his existence. This is because it would allow them to know the greatest good, God, and remind them of his presence. Furthermore, we would expect that God would want people to have good reason to believe he exists, so he would make it intuitive to believe that God exists. However, atheism struggles to explain these phenomena. If atheism is true, there is no God. So the question then becomes, why would most people, assuming they exist in an atheistic world, believe in and claim to experience a being that doesn't exist? Perhaps one could argue that believing in God has some sort of evolutionary benefit, but this would be adding an extra hypothesis to atheism, which increases its complexity and lowers its intrinsic probability. There's nothing in the hypothesis of atheism that their religious experience or theistic intuition. Whereas on theism, there's good reason to think that these things would in fact exist. Now, one important question is why should we trust our intuitions about things such as the existence of God? 5,000 years ago, it may have seemed if it was intuitively obvious that the earth was flat. If you had no scientific knowledge, it may have seemed like the earth in fact was flat. However, modern science has demonstrably shown that the earth is not flat. So, intuitive beliefs are valuable, but not the end of the story. As I've shown so far, many people believe there is good reason to believe God exists through their own personal experience. However, is there a defeater showing that religious experience should be discarded as evidence for God, as apparently a flat Earth was discredited by defeaters giving rise to? I'm sorry. However, if there is a defeater, the question that I'm asking is there a defeater showing that religious experience should be discarded as evidence for God, such as the same case happened when there was defeaters for a flat earth shown by modern science? I think it's possible to believe that God can be intuitive and many people's religious experiences can be evidence for theism. But if there is a defeater to these experiences, then they may be unreliable for understanding truth. So I would say intuition is good until proven otherwise. So if there's good intuition to believe that God exists and there's nothing to contradict that, then we have good evidence that God exists. Now, here's a good objection. Religious experiences are contradictory. Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Jews all might have differing religious experiences. Consider the following analogy. Police have been hunting for a criminal, and the rumor on the street is that they exited a supermarket in a car just a few hours ago. The police are interviewing witnesses on the scene, and many witnesses report seeing a person exiting the supermarket with a similar description as the criminal. However, problems occur when identifying the car that the criminal exited in. One says that the criminal exited in a blue van, another a white sedan, a third in an orange SUV. What would be the proper conclusion of these reports? That the criminal was not there at all? Of course not. The conclusion is simple. In that case, you just say that the criminal exited the scene, but how? We don't know. Simple contradictory personal testimonies may cast doubt on how the criminal exited the scene, but not the presence of the criminal in the first place. In the same way, personal experiences of God from contradictory religions may cast doubt in arguing for a specific religion from a religious experience. However, they do not serve as a defeater to the existence of God in general. It's important to remember that differing religious experiences often have a lot in common, such as a sense of the reality of the divine. Furthermore, many religions believe in the existence of supernatural beings that can interact in the world. So, other religions having religious experiences is not necessarily unexpected on certain religions, such as Christianity, that allow for the existence of other supernatural beings. So, in conclusion, the argument from personal, or not personal, religious experience is a powerful argument for the existence of God. One of the most common challenges to the existence of God is the question of why God seems so hidden. And this argument provides a powerful reply to that claim. He's not. Research shows that many people have claimed to have personally experienced God, and that belief in God is intuitive. Like other beliefs that cannot be proven but are believed based on intuition, such as the reality of the external world and other minds, the intuitiveness of theism serves as a good reason to believe that God exists. The existence of religious experience and the intuitiveness of theism is expected on theism, but not on atheism. If this claim holds, religious experiences of the divine can serve as powerful reasons to believe that God exists. So, thank you everyone for coming in. This is part 6 of my cumulative case for Christianity. If you're new here, I encourage you to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you check the playlist down below, you can see the whole thing. And part 7 will be coming out shortly. Have a good one, everyone, and God bless. We'll catch you next time.